Yes, this is John G. Sutton. Thank you very much for watching Tales from the Jails. Today I want to talk a little bit about some rather strange behaviour that took place. Start off at the Scrubs, yeah, it'd be 1976, round about January, February. It was early 76 anyway, and I was working at the Scrubs, and we got a call that there was a fight taking place in the hostel, which was just outside the jails. So they wanted staff to go over there. I was available at the time, so ran to the, handed my keys in, because you don't go out of the jail with your keys, you see. Went out the jail with my keys. There were three of us, I remember. Myself, a guy called John, a great big giant Irishman, and another guy. I don't know who that other guy was. I've forgotten yet. We ran over to the hostel, went in, and the inmates of the hostel, was just outside the gates of the Scrubs, were like indulging themselves in a little bit of fisticuffs, hitting each other. It was all nonsense, really. So I shouted to them, right, stop that immediately. And Big John, the Irishman, just waved me off. Went over to the corner of the room where their television was, big television, big colour television, lifted the television off its stand and threw it into the middle of the room, where it smashed all over the floor. Then he went to the pool table. They had a little pool table, tipped it over, and was starting ripping the legs off. And all the inmates stopped fighting and started shouting, stop, you're ruining our thingstable. Shouldn't be fighting, should you? Hey, they all stopped immediately. Well, Big John got their attention, believe me. And we never even had to lay a hand on them. All he did was smash the place up. He was a character, was John. Now, he was a seriously, I would say, a dangerous man to work with. I was working with him one night on the Young Offenders Unit, the YP wing. And we were delivering, it was nights, it was 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock, yeah? Late shift, yeah? So we were in there and we were delivering the evening snack. They had like a bun and a piece of cake or whatever and a cup of tea. So we went round, and when we got to the end of doing this, two landings, of the YP wing, there's about, I'd say, 60 inmates, and when we got to the end, there was one, we were short. So John said, this is the big Irishman, he said, who stole the cake? I wasn't doing it. I was walking behind, locking up, and Big John was going in the front, opening up, get the cup of tea and the cake, and next cell, he said, I'll find out who this is, He was a big Irishman. He says to me, go lock yourself in the office. This was one of the first times I'd ever met John. We became good friends later. So I went into the office and sat down and thought, what's he playing at? And he started at cell number 1. Went in there, and I could hear him shouting, who stole the cake? And of course, there was nobody shouting, it was me. So boom, 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 beat the occupants of that cell up. Went to the next cell, same thing, opened the door. Who stole the cake? No confessions. Beat the inmates up in the cell. He was going round like that. And I thought, there's something got to be done about this. Somebody's going to get killed here. So I rang up the duty officer who was in charge of the prison at that night. I said, listen, I think there's something wrong with the man I'm working with. His name's John, and I won't say his last name. But I said, he's going around beating all the prisoners up, one at a time, all the lot of them. And they said, yeah. So we know all about him. Just think yourself lucky you don't have to work with him all the time. I thought, is that the best answer I'm going to get? Eh? This guy's going round half murdering the bloody prisoners. He went all the way around and when he got to the end, and he did every single prisoner. battered every single prisoner in that wing. There was no point in trying to fight against him, he was just too big for you. And these prisoners didn't know what the hell to expect. A big 6'4", 19-stone Irishman picking him up and bashing him in the head. He certainly could do it, could John? He used to whistle as well. He used to go, you knew you were going to get belted if he started whistling. Anyway, I'll tell you the story about John. He was put on duty to go and clean up the prison yards, outside the prison cells. We call it the ship parcel detail, where people had thrown excrement outside the cells in newspaper. Well, somebody had to go around, take prisoners with them to clean it all up and put it in the back of a cart, take it away and dispose of it in the bins, or wherever they disposed of it. And John Caulfield, I cannot tell you his name, yeah. Anyway, John, he decided that he would use the IRA to do this job. Category A prisoners. Category A prisoners walking around the outside of the prison, inside the prison walls, but outside the cells, working on the yard duty. And this is no joke. John was sat in the back of the truck, in the back of the hand cart, like the Queen of Sheba, the King Canute or something like that, being pulled round Eventually, he was called in and required to resign, yeah? So he says to me, by this time we were friends, because I wasn't as mad as John, but I was pretty mad. Anyway, listen, what happened was, John says, I'm being required to resign. I'll be gone in 2 weeks. At the end of this month, I'm going. He said, I'll not get a job again after this. I said, of course you will, John. I said, you'll be all right. You'll get a job in Dublin, at Mountjoy Jail in Dublin. No, he said, they won't take me on if they find out I've been dismissed from the British prison service, I said, I'll leave it with me. So I was occasionally put in charge of the cleaning detail for the main offices. So I had about 4 inmates with me, tidying the offices up. I stayed with them absolutely to make sure that nothing went missing, and they just swept the floors, hoovered it up, tidied up and everything. But I had the keys to the offices, you see, so I went into the governor's office, unlocked it. This was like on a Saturday, because that's when there was nobody else in the offices. I went into the governor's office, opened it up, and took a couple of sheets of headed notepaper. And when I'd finished, that detail of cleaning all the offices, I took these 2 sheets of notepaper. I had a typewriter, and I typed a reference for John. It is with great regret that we are accepting the resignation of this wonderful officer who has been an absolute boom to this establishment. He has done far more than we ever expected. What a wonderful character. Anybody who employs this man is extremely fortunate. And I signed it, the governor's name, you see, forged his signature, and I gave it to John in an envelope. I said, there you are, that's your reference from the governor. And he looked at this. Bloody hell. He said, even better than I thought. Yeah, I said, you use that, take that to Mountjoy Jail. I said, and you'll get taken on. Anyway, the last I heard of John was that that's where he was working, at Mountjoy Jail in Dublin. And apparently the staff who told me this, it was staff that I met, when they were in the UK, they said he's the absolute terror. I could have told them that, yeah. Same thing happened to me. Well, something similar. I was at Strangeways, and this was round about 1981, I think, just before I became a hospital officer. And at the weekend I was given the duty again to go and clean up the main offices with a team of prisoners, with me supervising them, and they doing the usual stuff, hoovering it and cleaning everything, you know. So anyway, I'd been pissed off with some of the way some of the senior staff were referring to me, and I'd already had that ridiculous annual report, where one of the senior officers, the principal officers, had referred to me as a human cabbage. I mean, I was seriously angry about this, so I determined to make sure that they'd eradicated this from my record. Now, I knew where they kept the staff records, you see, because I go up to the main offices and I keep my eyes open, you know. And I knew where they hid the keys. They hid the keys in a drawer. I didn't have the keys to the staff record, which was in a big metal file, but I knew where they kept the keys. So I got the inmates together. I said, listen, I'm going to do something here that I shouldn't be doing, but I need your help. I said, I want one of you stood near the door, one of you stood halfway up the stairs, and one of you stood right at this door, and if anybody comes anywhere near this building, shout it through, because I am going to have a look into one of the private files. So, oh yeah, all right, Gov, yeah, we're up for that. Yeah, so they went on like lookout duty while I opened up the files with my records, and I opened my file. Do you know what it said? I mean, it says, this is an extremely dangerous man. And they had press cuttings from The Guardian and from the local papers. It had one press cutting from Wormwood Scubs. Prison officer punched man in head, broke skull, stuff like that. You know, from when I was involved in a fight in a pub in London. And then it had other things like refused governor's order, appeared on television, press cuttings from that, all manner of things. And my record was absolutely diabolical. They obviously didn't, for some unknown reason, didn't understand me, you know. I was just trying to do my job. And what they were doing was sweeping everything under the carpet. And I wasn't having none of that. Anyway, they never found out that I'd done that. I copied some of my record, I photostated it, and just when I'd finished photostating it and put my record back, I got a call. Principal officer's come in, locked everything up, turned the photostat machine off. In walked the principal officer, and how's it going, Mr. Sutton? I said, very well, we nearly finished the offices today, yeah. Oh, very good, yeah. He said, just going to make some photocopies for the reports for today. And he said, the photostat machine's warm. So have you been using it? I said, do you know, I said, somebody must have left that on, because when I came in, it was still on. I said, so I've had to switch it off. I said, otherwise just wasting electricity, isn't it? Oh, I said, that's very good, yeah. So they never found out that I'd been photocopying my own record of service, as diabolical as it was. Tales from the jails.